Now, I mentioned this before, but based on statistics, black people don't really donate when it comes to living donation. Out of like all the races on the transplant list, we get living donation the least, and we give donations the least. Right, out of blacks, Latinos, whites, and Asians, Latinos, whites, and Asians get transplants, living transplants far more than we do. Now, I'm just introducing some possible reasons for that. Lack of education. And this doesn't just go for like black people. This goes for like everyone in society. Like kidney transplant isn't really in the zeitgeist of society the same way as cancer is, right? There's a million cancer commercials, there's a million cancer drugs being made every single day to make it so that way people don't have to go through chemo, or they have accompanying drugs to go with chemo to lessen the need for more chemo than is required. You watch any television program, what do you see? St. Jude, Shriners, this drug for cancer, that drug for cancer. Cancer is the most prevalent illness in like the zeitgeist or the vocabulary of society that everybody knows about, and very little people, including black people, don't really know that much about transplant, how it works, what they can do, who they can contact, who are people they can call in order to learn more information about it. Typically, and this has happened to me, that you really don't learn about a thing until it happens to you. So like I didn't know anything about kidney disease or dialysis or transplant, any of this stuff, until I actually got sick, because my whole life, like, this just wasn't something that was even in my line of sight to even think about. It's like you can't seek something out if you don't know it's there. I usually try to keep these. I'm trying to like keep these videos kind of short, but the reality is that it really doesn't matter how long I go in these videos. You're either gonna watch it or you're not gonna watch it. Another factor, and this is a big one, is mistrust of the medical system, which is not a unfounded or unwarranted fear. I've mentioned this in previous videos before, but in the black community, and I know as I'm a black person, I've seen this myself, there is a distrust that a lot of black people have for the medical field due to poor poor medical practices throughout the history of America. You look up like the Tuskegee experiments. There was one time in history that um, colonists or like white colonists thought that black people didn't experience pain, so it didn't matter if they didn't use anesthesia on us for operations, subjecting blacks to and experimenting on blacks without their knowledge or consent, using us to um, create vaccines to viruses without giving credit or proper treatment. There was a time in history where black people couldn't even be seen by a human doctor. We had to go to the vet to be seen. We were considered not human. We were considered subhuman when it came to medical treatments. So we didn't get the same treatment as whites did throughout history. So there's that, which is very prevalent and which is very much um, a thing that still is perpetuated today. But staying on topic of transplant, there's no way to get around um, involving yourself like medically in this. If you want a transplant, like this is the only way to get one is to go through a transplant center. I'm not necessarily saying get on the transplant list. So if you have a living donor, you can get a transplant um, significantly faster. But if you don't have a transplant, if you don't have a donor, you got to get on the transplant list. That's the only way you can get it. You can't get around it. Another factor is you have a lot of black households that aren't uh, typically the nuclear household. Absentee fathers, single mothers, single parents raising children by themselves. Speaking for myself, my father was very much a extremely selfish person, right? Like he would rather see me die than get me to give me one of his kidneys for transplant. My father was a terrible man, and he was an individual that would try to breed that selfishness into me, of that crabs in a bucket mentality of you get it regardless of anybody else around you. That I look out for me and me only and F everybody else. And that mentality, from the previous generations that have been carried down, is affecting a lot of us millennials, or whatever you want to call us. A lot of us that were born in the 80s, that's affecting us now, as far as like the statistics of getting a transplant. Another one is pre-existing conditions. Now, when I say this, I'm not generalizing, right? These are just like some uh, individuals in the black community, but like pre-existing existence, like diabetes and hypertension, overall like poor health, not going to the doctor, not getting checked, lifestyle as far as like rich foods, like soul food, black eyed peas, rice, cornbread, all that stuff are also contributing factors. So I'll use my family for example. A lot of the people in my family are automatically disqualified because of these factors. Diabetes unchecked, uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled blood pressure, pre-existing conditions, poor health, lack of concern about being healthy. I have members of my family. I have a few members of my family that have diabetes, do not take care of themselves. Drug use and alcohol consumption being very, very prevalent in the black community. Like my father and all his brothers, heavy alcoholics, heavy drug users. And that doesn't make them suitable candidates for transplant. Plus, the mentality that was bred into them by their father, who was abusive to them, to be as selfish as you possibly can. If you can do something for anybody, per my grandfather on my father's side mentality, if you can do something for somebody, don't do it. Right? And before I close this video out, I want to make this very clear. This is not me just shitting on black people. Right? By no means. I am a black person. Right? Very proud to be. And this is not like me creating a bandwagon for people to jump on in order to hate blacks. That's not what this is. This is just me highlighting factors as to why we care more about which race of people can rap, and why we care more about that and less about, like, we're not getting kidneys on the transplant list. And for all the hate that blacks get, we have contributed more to the westernization and modernization of America than any other race that is currently living here.